Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now June 4th of 2020, and ever since the release of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, a lot of fans around the world have been very intrigued about the future of the Star Wars franchise by Disney and Lucasfilm. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, the one exciting aspect of Star Wars is that we do know that Bob Iger and Bob Chapek are working together as a team in order to really provide proper Star Wars stories to be told. You know, we've seen this steady decline, as I always like to say, ever since the release of The Last Jedi back in December of 2017. We've all witnessed this, right? Ever since Rian Johnson came into the picture, we've seen this steady decline of the Star Wars franchise. And it really all kind of pretty much went down further with The Rise of Skywalker, really not getting as much at the box office as it did with The Last Jedi. Now, with that being said, we do know that Disney Plus and the new Star Wars trilogy is something that Disney's really focused on. This is something that they are very engaged in because this really does determine the future of the franchise and exactly how it's really all going to roll out throughout this entire decade. So, when we look at everything related to Disney, right, we also know that George Lucas, Dave Filoni, and Jon Favreau, as I like to call them, FFL or LFF, they're all working together in order to provide us new Star Wars stories that are going to be as authentic as possible. However, what's really intriguing all has to do with Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy. Now, in case you guys did not know, Kathleen Kennedy had her creative control stripped away some months ago, and ever since then we've seen some improvements of the Star Wars universe. Now, with that being said, of course, now that both Disney and Lucasfilm are finished with The Rise of Skywalker, they are now focused on their new Star Wars universe as well as the new Star Wars trilogy of films that will reinvent the Star Wars franchise for the Star Wars community. Currently, Bob Iger and Bob Chapek are working closely with George Lucas, Jon Favreau, and Dave Filoni in order to create a better and brighter future for the Star Wars franchise moving forward. Now, it's noted that one of the major plans by Disney is to reunite the Star Wars fans around the world since the release of the sequel trilogy films. It's explained that Bob Chapek has been making major changes to the Star Wars franchise, and that recently, Chapek has allowed George Lucas to actually make significant adjustments to the Star Wars brand. Now, it's noted that recently George Lucas just put the entire Star Wars High Republic era project on hold and delayed the release of the series, or Star Wars lore/material if you will, to be redone, where all of Kathleen Kennedy's ideas for the High Republic will be erased and cancelled by replacing them with proper stories to tell by new creatives hired over at Lucasfilm to tell more authentic Star Wars stories moving forward. Now, George Lucas is described to be working closely with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau to develop the High Republic era properly so that fans can enjoy a brand new era of Star Wars that will introduce a new mythology properly. Kathleen Kennedy's initial ideas for the High Republic introduced the concept of a Star Wars timeline that does not include any wars. George Lucas viewed this as a disaster only waiting to happen, and that he took every chance possible in order to write over Kathleen Kennedy's take on the High Republic era. Not just that, but also George Lucas is set to connect the High Republic era with the Old Republic in a very unique and exciting way for the Star Wars fans around the world to create something engaging for the fans to be satisfied with. Now, this plan by Lucas is to actually borrow concepts from Star Wars Legends material and to bring them into the Star Wars EU that they are all working on in order to reunite the fans around the world. George Lucas will also be delivering a new experience from many of the other projects that Kathleen Kennedy was initially working on before Chapek took her creative control away. Now, it's noted that Lucas is going to bring in as much as Star Wars Legends content as possible for the fans, and that this is a decision that also comes from both Bob Iger and Bob Chapek to create a better future for the Star Wars universe and for the Star Wars community as a whole, to make it just as successful as the MCU in order to bring it in the right direction after Disney handled the franchise poorly from 2012 all the way until 2019. So here's the thing about this entire situation. You guys may recall that a couple of months ago, we got the official announcement of the High Republic era. And this timeline, by the way, is set 200 years before The Phantom Menace, in case you guys are really not informed on that. But A lot of fans were against the design of the characters, the overall direction of how Kathleen Kennedy was treating everything. Thankfully, George is putting an end to all of this, and this is all rooted from Bob Chapek. You know, this is, of course, a further delay of this era that's going to be done by Lucasfilm, and a big part of this delay has to do with erasing or canceling all of Kathleen Kennedy's ideas for the High Republic timeline. So this is honestly a light at the end of the tunnel here, without a doubt. It tells us, the Star Wars community, that, well, Disney's very ambitious, and what they're trying to do is that they're really trying to make things right for the Star Wars community moving forward, at the very minimum, by doing something correctly with the new lore. So with that being said, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. No, I'm not the one from night to moon.